everybody. Welcome to the Four Corner Sports Podcast. I'm your host for the day, Brandon Pockers, joined by Gabe Arena, Zach Maddock, and Austin Kane.
Episode 2, baby.
Today, we are taking you inside our fantasy league. So every week, you're gonna get a sports podcast from us, and this other one where we're gonna dive into our fantasy league and fantasy football itself. So, a little backstory. Us four, we're in the same league, joined by about 8 other kids, all from the same area. Um, League's been going on about 5, 6 years. Very competitive league. Uh, had some past controversies, as you will see later in this episode.
No idea what you're talking about.
But in all honesty, you guys should enjoy this episode. It's gonna be fun, lighthearted. Gonna get to see what our fantasy league's all about. So this time I'm gonna turn it over to our commissioner, Austin Kane, and he's gonna give you the rundown of essentially what our league is about, how long it's been going on, win percentages, power rankings, and you're gonna get to see the reveal of our schedule for this year, which I know if you're in the league, everyone's been anticipating and is very excited for. So Austin, take it away.
All right. You guys should have my screen shared.
It is. You're good to go.
And here we go. So starting off with our fantasy football league. This was formed in 2014, starting from Linwood, New Jersey, which is around the area we're all from. League's name is Linwood 472432. Just what we were in like 7th grade. We put our favorite numbers together with our town name. Nothing too exciting. 12-team league, PPR scoring, 20 total members over the 6 seasons that we've played. 8 teams make it to the playoffs, and we play a 13-week regular season with the championship happening in week 16. And this is our roster. You got your starters, our QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex player, defense, special teams, a kicker, with 5 bench slots and an inter reserve.
Now, before you move on to this picture with some pretty good looking dudes in it, there are some proposals on the table for changing some of those roster slots. Austin, can you dive into anything about what possibly can change with the roster sizes, depending on what the other members of the league think?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. So what some of our members have agreed on, we have a good roster size. What we've been thinking about is replacing the tight end position with another flex, but we've also been thinking about taking out that wide receiver 3 slot and making another flex position. Some talk about an IDP, like individual defensive player, but not too much about that. Possible 1 more inter reserve slot. We've added some possible point bonuses this year for like a wide receiver getting 100 to 200 yard game, getting an extra point, or like a 200 plus yard game, getting another point. Kickers getting a 60 plus field goal, getting an extra point there. Just some other things we've been thinking about. Dynasty League in the next coming years, where you get a few more keepers, about like 8, and build your team for the future around those players. Some other things we were talking about is our draft. Hopefully we have it set for around early August before we all go back to school. And we are looking for 1 more member this year because, as you'll see, one of our players from last season did have to leave the league due to not fulfilling his punishment, which comes with coming in last place in our league. So that's about.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's about really all we got for now with the changes. So I'm going to move forward.
Before you do that, I'll throw it to the other host for a second. What do you guys think about these possible proposals? Personally, I'm all for adding another flex spot with dropping one of the wide receiver slots, as it would give more roster flexibility for each team.
Yeah, I mean that's it's definitely like a good thing, and good proposal. It's just, I mean, over half the time, the second flex position is going to end up being a third wide receiver anyway. And like, I don't know if some teams are, but I know my teams, especially in the past since I've been in the league, have had four wide receivers in most weeks. So for me, it's not going to change much.
Personally, kind of back off what Gabe's saying, I'm kind of the same way. I don't see my team changing that much or my strategy because most weeks I'm playing 4 wide receivers as well. It would take me having to draft 3. It does give me flexibility to now draft 3 to 4 stud running backs, but I doubt that I'll be changing my strategy that much. So we'll see. But I'm against the getting rid of the tight end slot. I think that has a lot more strategy in trying to find a good enough tight end for your team for an entire season.
All right.
All right, so now I'm going to bring you guys through just the guys in the league. This is a picture from us last year in a draft at Cheeks and Pete's. It did not go that well, but
Oh, God, no, it did not.
we've had better experiences in the past.
It was very bad because of the fact they didn't have the updated draft boards, so we were going off last year's players with us writing in rookie names.
That was
We're not
fun.
going to talk
That
about
was
how
fun.
Austin left the money on the table.
Oh, Commissioner almost had a problem.
Yeah, it was just a bumpy year for our draft, but
The only thing Chicky and Pete's did right was hold on to our money.
yeah, that's about it. But getting started with this, starting with our league winning percentage player, Brandon Pockris, as you see him there. He joined in our inaugural season back in 2014, has a career regular season record of 52-26 with 1 championship victory and has made the playoffs 5 out of 6 years. So he's had a pretty storied career here. Brandon, you want to touch up on yourself?
Yeah, I mean, as a fantasy player, I would consider myself pretty good drafter, but I feel like majority of the time I'm looking for free agency to improve my team. I mean, I've made some key additions that have carried me in the playoffs some years. My 1 championship year was by far my worst draft year because of injuries. Yeah, I had to be really smart with my waiver wire pickups, and essentially I stayed with the same strategy. Balance of wide receivers and running backs, keep a lot of them on the bench, late quarterback late, and all honesty, it's kept me in contention every single year. So I feel like I'm gonna employ those same strategies this upcoming year, and I'm excited for what this year holds.
Wasn't your team named Team IR the year you won the playoffs?
Yes, it was. It's kind of a playful joke against myself because everything was going not my way until it was going my way. So there's a good quote for you.
So following Brandon, we have his fantasy rivals, so to say, as they go neck and neck every time they play each other regular season playoffs, no matter what. Gabe's been in the league since 2017, and he's also one of our members in this podcast. His career record is pretty good. Second most winning percentage in our league, 23-16. In his first 3 years, he's made the playoffs all 3 times with 1 championship victory. Gabe, if you want to talk about your rivalry with Brandon or just the league in general, go for it.
I'll tell you what, my rivalry with Brandon is just it's something else. It's definitely my toughest game of the year every season. Actually, the year I won the championship, I played him twice in the regular season and then again in the championship.
That was something, man.
And we allowed the 2 teams in the championship to pick how much money the winner would get. And I was just so scared of losing. I wanted to get at least half, so I'm just put 300. And it was maybe my best week I've ever had of fantasy, and I'm so disappointed I did not get more.
That's how it usually goes.
I mean, this rivalry, it's been heated ever since you joined in 17.
Yeah, it's been something, but I don't know. I kind of base my my team off of get the wide receivers and running backs early. I base most of my success off of getting Michael Thomas every single year.
There it is. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for you to say it.
Yes, he will be my keeper this year, obviously, because he's Michael Thomas, the best wide receiver in the league.
Breaking news right there.
But I usually get the running backs and wide receivers early and just stack them, and then I worry about tight ends and my quarterback towards like round 8 or 9. Last year I don't think I had a quarterback until like round 10 maybe, so I try not to worry about it too much. What I do differently than Brandon is I like to make trades and very active in the trade market. I just usually end up finding guys that help my team and make it so much better.
Okay. Brandon likes to be in the trade market. It's just the fact that he's never offered a good trade.
Yeah,
We're not gonna touch on my trades and how I've screwed over people and how no one wants to trade with me because they're scared. But
We'll save that for when the season gets here. For
Exactly.
my
weekly updates.
My championship year, I almost got David Johnson until the league vetoed it.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I forget who that trade was with, but it was probably stupid.
It was Baxter.
Yeah.
I would have given like Brandon Cooks or something like that for David Johnson.
We don't veto many trades, just the important ones.
David Johnson got hurt that same week too. I remember that.
Yep.
All right.
It's all about me. I just don't miss the playoffs.
Yeah, 3 for 3. Moving on, got myself. Yours truly, the commissioner. Obviously, original member back in 14. My career record's fallen a little short here and there. 43 and 35. I do have one championship victory, which has a little story behind it. I have made the playoffs 5 of the 6 times. The first year we had this league was the only year I did not make the playoffs. The story behind the championship, though, my friend Zach on the bottom there, he brought me to an Eagles game one year, and I needed Zach Ertz to get like less than 20-something points. And as Ertz was going to catch the touchdown, that would make me lose the fantasy championship. It tipped off his fingers, and me being me in the middle of a Philadelphia crowd in a big game in their season, I stand up and like scream like it was a good thing with an Eagles jersey on, and Zach pulled me down, just making sure that those Philly fans did not kill me. My draft style, I like to call myself a wide receiver heavy kind of guy. I don't get like the best wideouts, but I do get the mediocre ones, but they do always seem to get injured a lot of the time, so it kind of screws me down the path. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about myself. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about me, but
do you want to bring up your almost championship victory, second one?
Which one?
Oh, the fumble.
The fumble. The Jamison Crowder one.
I think it was back in 16. So I needed one more win. I was in the semis going to the on my way to the championship, hopefully playing one of our old members. And at the time we were not PPR, and it was still where we did -2 for a fumble and -2 for a fumble loss. So Jamison Crowder, I had the win in the bag. All I needed was Jamison Crowder just not to mess up. So he catches the ball going across the middle. It was a Monday Night Football game. And big defensive lineman just pokes the ball out and hops on the ball. It's a pretty sad night. I remember crying myself to sleep after that one. So just going to move on. Who we got next? Luke Mazer.
This is a fun one.
I'll take him because
I'll hand that one over to Matt.
Mazer is a buddy of mine, and him and I compete in literally anything and everything there is to compete about. And we were looking for members last year, and I knew that he was good at fantasy, and I thought it would be a good guy to bring in. And unfortunately, I was a little too right because he came in, luckily got the second pick, drafted Christian McCaffrey, and then just ran to a championship.
Yeah, I mean, his regular season number is 6 and 7. Yeah, 6 and 7 career record, but that's where the 8 playoff team rule that we have helps you out because most of the time you will see losing records in the playoffs, which I mean it's whatever. It's good to have 8 teams, makes it more competitive. You get your upsets here and there. So yeah, he's 1 for 1. I mean, can't get much better than that.
Also, to speak on those records, I mean, don't you think? In my opinion, I think the fact that a 6-7 record won the championship, I mean, it just speaks to the competition of the league. I mean, you had so many teams clustered together because everyone's on kind of that like level playing field, and how honestly, like, there's not really many people that like drag the league down because everyone's like locked in, focusing, and it's crazy how competitive it really has gotten. I mean, I remember when we started this thing, it was like, are we really gonna have 12 competitive people every single year? I mean, it's the fact we've kept it going for this long. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, you
I
will see
mean,
guys every year that fall off towards the end, but I think it really comes down to drafting. You can tell every year who's mostly invested into it, and
yeah.
like, there is like the few players every year who you're probably going to beat when you play them. But I mean, everyone knows their stuff, so you never really know who when it comes down to it.
I'll tell you one thing though. If I beat Major in the semifinals last year, I probably would have been back-to-back champion. But
It's a tough beat.
can't get them all. Yep.
I should have beat him in the first round. I'd already beat him twice that season. I just couldn't get the third time.
I think his team averaged like 180 in the playoffs, so kind of tough to beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Next up, we got another original member, Cole Arsenal.
Oh, Cole.
Back in
Cole-
2014, Maddox, I'll let you explain kind of the backstory on Cole.
Okay, so Cole is our crazy member. He's the one that you can't trust his team because he'll either score 60 points or he'll score 180 and kick your butt. There's no in between.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But Cole's been a friend of ours, friend of mine personally, and he was coming to high school with us. We known him. We invited him to the league. He knew a bit about football, and we expected a little better, though, when he started drafting. This guy's first 3 picks. First-round pick, running back out of Seattle, Christine Michael, if you guys even remember him at all.
Never heard of him when you drafted him.
Second-round pick, Russell Wilson. Third-round pick, Seahawks defense.
Yeah. Big Seahawks guy. He's not even a Seattle fan. He's a Steelers fan like I am. Just likes that fantasy stock that they got.
I mean, also to elaborate on, he has improved drastically over the years, but he is a nuisance in the playoffs. If you run into him in the playoffs, as I did when I went, I think, like 11-2 or something, I ran into him in the playoffs, and he dispatched me, and I was like, "What the?"
Yeah, my best
It's insane.
year, I think it's 12-1, like something real good. I was, and
It's insane.
First round ran into him, knocked me out. That's like that's where the 18 playoff comes in. Well, I mean, you get those upsets that nobody ever expects. But continuing on to Cole, 34-44. I mean, not the best, but not the worst. You'll see.
He's also made the playoffs 5 times.
Yeah, 5 for 6 on playoff appearances, pretty good. 2 top 3 finishes. So he's due. He's due soon.
It's also crazy because if you look at the past few, like for the people that have been in the league since 2014, Cole has matched mine and Austin's playoff appearances.
Yeah.
It shows that he may not have the record, but he's getting in and he's causing damage every single year. And 2 top 3 finishes, which I think that ties me as well. So it's like you may laugh at his draft, but he's a force to be reckoned with in our league.
I do not like playing him ever.
No, it's
I just somehow always beat him. I don't know how, but he hasn't had one of those good games against me yet.
Don't say those words.
Moving on.
Don't jinx it.
Another new member that we brought in last season. Joined in 2019, finished with a 5-8 record and 10th place in his first season in the league. Honestly, coming into the league, I thought he would show a little more promise than what he did, but he's coming back again for the 2020 season. I don't really have much to say on him. I don't know about you guys, but
I mean, he had some rough injuries, some rough picks. I mean, in fantasy, you got to remember partially it's luck because you never know how a player's going to actually do. You never know how a season's going to go. It's a bunch of numbers, bunch of percentages, range of outcomes. You have to look at all this before you draft, and it's literally going to happen because of law of percentages, you're going to have a bad draft every once in a while because of things that are outside your control. And personally, I think Nate just had a bad draft. I feel like he's going to be back with a vengeance this year. He's going to be one of the top players in the league.
He had a decent lineup. It's just Adam Thielen was hurt a lot. Derrick Henry was doing it in the first 10 weeks of the season, like always.
Lev Bell didn't work out either.
Exactly. I mean,
Bell had an okay year.
So yeah,
we'll
see who will base his team around of keepers and stuff like that. See how his draft situation changes. Don't really have much more to add. And coming up next, we have, I think it's our worst record of all time. Has been in the league all 6 seasons from 2014 to now. It's career record 26-49. And he does have that one championship victory with that one playoff appearance that happened in our inaugural season back in 2014. This guy, his draft, growing up through the years, was always 2 players, Jamal Charles, Dez Bryant. Not really sure why. I mean, he is a Cowboys fan, so I guess Dez Bryant always attracted
Zeke every year.
And then, Jamal Charles was always dominant when we were growing up, so I could see why he always did that. But I'll hand it over to you guys.
I mean, Jack, he's a good player. Just he's had some, like Nate, he's had some bad injury luck and some bad picks. I mean, going Marshawn Lynch, what was it, in the 3rd or 2nd round last year, right?
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of – I mean, it's literally all it takes is one pick, and the guys you pass up on, they can change your whole season. So,
but yeah, that's like the one thing you got to put some blame on the draft board not being correct, but it's also like –
you also got to remember,
just the focus part.
So many guys fell through the cracks of that draft last year. That was absolute pandemonium. You'd be looking, it's like, this guy's still on the board? Really?
Yeah.
It's like, how?
Just always keep your eyes open. You never know who you'll find in those little draft sheets, stickers.
Exactly. They always get so disorganized.
That's what makes it fun.
Next up, we got Billy Baxter, original member once again, 2014. His record a little shaky at 33-45. He does have that one championship victory. I think it was back in 17.
He rode Ajayi, Rodgers, and David Johnson to the championship that year.
Yeah, it was probably David Johnson's last good.
No, that was his breakout year. No, that was the year when he exploded on the scene in the back half of the year, and Billy rode that to the championship victor.
All you need.
All you need.
One good push, and he's always that mediocre team that's always in there. 3 playoff appearances, so it's 3 for 6. Not much going on there. Just a good middle.
He has never finished last when he doesn't make the playoffs. That is something good to know for.
Yeah, so he's never gotten that punishment, which is
that's important
to touch on later. Next up, Hassett. Actually, one of those surprisingly great players every year. He's
constant improvement, always constantly improving in our league.
He's definitely improved from year 1, 2014, overall 45-32 record. Last year fell in his first ever championship appearance to Mazer, and he's 4 for 6 on playoff appearances. So it's always a good team. He's always improving. Yeah.
100%. With Hassett, I mean, that new rivalry is struck up with Mazer because of that championship. He wants revenge, and I think Hassett will be back for it this year.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Always going to be a good match.
It's good to note that Jack Hassett has the 3rd highest winning percentage in the league.
Yeah, it's just something when I was making those percentages up, I wouldn't think of.
That's the thing. When you're in a league for this long, it's like you find these stats where it's like, really? Like you don't realize the actual records because it's fantasy such a year-to-year game.
Yeah, it's true.
Paytas. All right. So This would someone I would call as my rival in the league. I beat him in the championship back in, what was that, 17?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. 18.
So he's the original member. His overall record is 44-34. It's fourth best winning percentage. He's got 2 top 3 finishes, including the 1 championship loss. 5 or 6 on the playoff appearances. And the fun fact he's got is that he's owned the 6th overall pick every season that we've been in this
Somehow.
league.
Would it be?
It's just pure luck. We've never rigged it. We've never done anything. He's been present for every time we've picked out of the hat every year. 6th pick, Paytas. It does not matter.
Would it be accurate to call him the 6th god yet?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
because
No, he's not a god. He's to win a championship. He's to win a championship first week. We can call him that.
Yeah. Another thing about Paytas, he's that guy who'll start 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, whatever it is.
Falls off the cliff
get to
every time.
Get to week 8, week 7, around there, down he goes. It's just his season's over from there, and he'll never see the championship after he gets that downhill fall rolling.
Probably why his record is so good.
Me.
Last stop, Zach Maddock. All right, so he is an original member. You could put a little asterisk there. We'll get to that. His overall record is
I am an original member, but there's some controversy.
34-31. Overall record, his best finish is 5th place. He's got 3 playoff appearances out of the 5 years he's been in the league. Most people that are original members have been here all 6 years, but Maddock did have a 2015 suspension, the only suspension in league history. Maddock, you want to touch up on that? You guys down there, you guys can touch up.
Okay, so come the 2015 season, there had been a rule change I don't think was whether intentional or unintentional, and somehow the roster limit for wide receivers was 4. Something not the entire league was happy about. Most people weren't too happy with it. But I had a dilemma that I knew I had to take care of with the fact that my best 2 receivers would be playing on the same bye week, and we play 3 receivers, and I would be basically screwed at that point. So this is younger me, so take it into account that come time, I'm in a different draft with Commissioner Kane, and he happened to leave for a minute and left his laptop unlocked and untouched. So I kind of scooted over, went to our league, and just minuscule without anyone noticing, or so I thought. I changed it from 4 to 5. Just that. Commissioner Kane found out. I was questioned. I owned up to it. But even though, and they'll admit to it now, I made the right move for the league, due to my actions, I still had to be suspended for the season.
Yeah, definitely the right move. We now have 0 limits on any players. So
Thank God.
You can make your roster what you want. I mean, yeah, it was probably the second year. Yeah, 2015. So we were all still pretty young. Didn't really know much.
It wasn't seen as a temporary suspension, but it ended up being like that. So I think it worked out in that.
Gabe, how do you feel about the roster limits, stuff like that? You got anything to add with that?
I mean, I like the no limit there. Makes it easier to get who you want without having to give up something.
All right, so this is last year's final standings throughout the playoffs. Starting off, we got last year's champion, Luke Mazer. It's tough to say that.
Oh, God.
It was his first year in the league. Then we got Jack Bassett coming in at 2nd, Gabe Arena 3rd, myself, Austin Kane at 4th, Zach Maddock at 5th, Brandon Pockets at 6th. It's kind of weird how we all line up 3rd through 6th. Paytas at 7, Cole Arsenal at 8, Billy Baxter at 9, Nate Kopinski at 10, Jack Pettit at 11, and a name you have not heard yet, Spencer Albuquerque at 12th. He sadly did not fulfill his punishment, which was to stand on the corner of our busiest road in our towns and in a Speedo with a sign saying, honk to see me dance, I suck at fantasy football. So, I mean, in the past, we've done like the shaved head punishments, but this year we wanted to step it up a little bit. So that's all I got for really the background of the league and the players.
Now looking at the standings before we move on.
Yeah.
What type of fluctuation do you think we could see during this season?
I think you're going to see Quap and Baxter have much better seasons. I believe that us four are probably going to stick around where we are. I might fall. One of us will probably fall back into the 7-8 range.
I'll probably be
that-
champion again next year.
Oh,
think
is that a Joe Namath type assurance?
I'm thinking the top two could easily stay the same. I feel like if it happened, those two could easily find themselves back in the championship. I think anyone 1 through 10, honestly, could be back in the championship. Remember, we're still looking for that 12th guy to come in, so you never know who that's going to be, how they play, how they draft, stuff like that. We do have a few guys in mind. I'm not going to really touch on who they are yet until we
keeping that a little secret.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I think the league right now, with how close everyone is in like skill level, I feel like it could be anybody. I mean, really, you just got. That's why you play the game. That's why you play the game.
Yeah, and just one guy who I think is probably the biggest sleeper at the bunch. It's got to be Cole. I mean,
Gotta be Cole.
Yeah.
Cole's due. Cole's due.
Yeah, it's always sleeper. He's due for one ring eventually. Paytas, I could possibly, depending on how he drafts, he could see himself back up into the top 5.
I don't know.
top 3 area.
Paytas is a constant playoff appearance, but he just
One guy he
not-
did lose
not always
in the
there.
recent years due to his mental issues is Antonio Brown, who carried Paytas since he drafted him, basically. So that was a big loss.
Saw him take a little bit of a slip this season because of that.
Yeah. And I'm pretty good on this. I'm ready for a
I think it's
schedule.
time we get to the schedule itself. I thought the schedule was fun because us four actually took the time. Usually we'd let ESPN make it, but after some issues, schedule getting boring, we've all played the same stuff the last 3 years. One team happens to play each other at the same time 3 times in a season. We decided to actually go and make the schedule ourselves.
This was an interesting process, I have to say.
That took
I
forever.
mean, in all honesty, we took into account rivalries. We switched up divisions, although wasn't too big of a change with most of the teams. You can see that some of the matchups are more key in certain areas now. Also, it's gonna be a much more competitive league. No one's gonna have cakewalks back-to-back weeks. It's gonna be a grinded out tough season for everybody. And personally, I'm excited and looking forward to it. So Austin, take
It
it
was very
away.
difficult making the schedule, though.
Oh, it was not fun. We messed up a couple times, had to go back and fix some things.
It was a good time, but it's just, I mean, it's definitely something worth doing every season.
Good thing we only have to do it once a year.
Yeah. It's something
Here
to
we
take
go.
an hour, knock it out. And here's the first look at the 2020 league schedule. And it's kind of organized. I mean, we got the spreadsheet each week, each team, and the matchup.
So we tried to do the schedule. We decided that weeks 1 and 13 were going to be your rivalry weeks. Everyone has in the league, we like to consider their so-called rival, a.k.a. Brandon and Gabe, me and Luke, Austin and John, and it kind of just how we do it. And we made sure that everyone played the rivals week 1 and 13, which makes it interesting. Come playoff time, you're playing the person you want to beat the most, possibly for that 1 seed, to not miss the playoffs, to get the 2 seed and get a bye or whatever it is. We don't do buys in the league. I just remember that. Different leagues.
In
But
all honesty, this whole process, it's gonna make you be committed and make you be locked in. Because if you think you're not gonna have a cakewalk game to finish the season. You're not gonna have that cakewalk game week 5 or 6. Like every single week, you got to be in and you got to be looking forward and just trying to essentially just beat everybody to the punch. I mean, with our controversial specific rules, I mean, one slip up, one time not waking up at the right time can possibly cost you a season.
I mean, if you look at just Parker's first 4 weeks, Gabe, a very solid team. Austin's always good. Mazer the championship, and Paytas is always good early in the season. And then Hassett after that with Cole week 6, me week 7. That's 7 tough weeks. It's hard to not be competitive when you're playing such good teams at such a high level the entire season.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we can break this down up to you guys.
I mean, being as
Break it down.
we're all a part of the league, as a group, what games do you think stick out? Like,
there's one for sure. Week 7, Hassett versus Mazer championship rematch.
Yeah.
It will not
think,
go unseen.
and the fact that that's in the middle of the season, that can make or break both their seasons,
The
depending on
fact
how
that
they're
Gabe
doing.
and Pockers get to play twice in the season at least is going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Me-
Oh
me-
yeah.
Me and Pac as well go at each other 2 times.
Oh, that's right, because we had an extra week because we made sure everybody played each other once. And then we had the rivalry week twice, and we had 1 week left over. So everyone plays their so-called second rival or someone they've always had hatred or problem with over the years.
Hatred. I want to use that word.
I mean, come on. Me and Mazer, me and Paytas, Gabe and Mazer.
I'll tell you one match I'm looking forward to. Me and Matic.
What is
We
that?
always play week 1 and it's just
Yeah, me and Gabe always get an early and late season.
Actually, yeah, something better. Our team's actually
Week
we know
10.
how
That's a
it's gonna
late one. It's a big one.
Prime time, baby. Let's see what else we got on here.
I think the Week 12 matchups are all going to be fun that late in the season. You see Pac and Kane playing for the second time. I play Paytas. Gabe's playing Mazer. It's going to be fun.
It's definitely going to be a good season. I'm excited for it. And then we break it down here with the strength of schedule. So, I mean, according to last year's standings, Matic, you want to break that down? I mean,
so basically, I didn't do anything. It has to do with how you've played in the league as an all-time player. It doesn't do just what you did last season or last 2 seasons. I base it on your entire career, whether that's 1 season or 6, like the main members, or 5, like me, for reasons. And I took your all-time winning percentage, and then we ranked you 1 through 12. Like Pockers is the best of all time, and then Spencer, who's no longer in the league, had the worst winning percentage all time. And I took the numbers, and like you see that 78 right there, and it's actually Austin. He has the lowest number, which means he plays the hardest teams. So technically, by strength of schedule, Austin has the hardest. Well, with a rank of 94, Hassett gets the easiest schedule per se, just based on career winning percentage. Now, it's very possible that all teams that haven't been very good in past years draft really well, and us blue bloods aren't doing too well. But it all comes down to the draft.
I mean, fantasy football, man, it all boils down to a few key decisions, whether you make that left turn or that right turn. And honestly, it's going to be really exciting to see how each person essentially goes about their roster decisions.
one more thing I think we should add to this final few segments here, tonight's podcast. I think we should each make our own power rankings as of right now.
All right. I think that's a great idea. Austin, as the commissioner, start us off with
All right,
Linwood,
first up-
24, 47, 10
Wait,
power
so
rankings.
are we making our own power rankings, or are we just like working together to make one?
I'm down to make our own.
Everyone make their
Their
own.
own.
Just
All
we'll stain them off here.
Overall player rankings? Is that what you're trying to say?
power ranking.
Power rankings.
So whatever you think that is, put it in your head. I'm going to start. I mean, champion last year, ran through the playoffs. Got to go Mazer number 1 on my power rankings. Second, I'm going to go back to Hassett. Once again, had a phenomenal season. And I think he could find himself back into the top 3. I think he wants that championship pretty bad. As he said last year before our league year started, he's ready to keep going until he finally gets his ring. Next up, I'm going to put Brandon. He's got the highest winning percentage in all time for our league. Next up, got Gabe. He's played 3 phenomenal seasons in all 3 years of him being in the league. Next up, going to put myself. I think I draft well, play well throughout the year. Yeah, I guess Maddox. You would have to be next on my list.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing when it comes to drafting. You know all the rules. You like to get up at 3 a.m. for when free agency starts on Tuesday morning.
Okay, so just disclaimer, because we've mentioned it a couple times, just to let the people know, we do not do waivers. It'll never happen. Commissioner Kane will never allow this league to be waivers, and he's stated that multiple
no way.
times. So our free agency opens at Tuesday at 3 a.m. You can get anyone you want that's available at 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning. You're willing to get up? The player is yours if you want him, and you're quick enough.
Next up, coming into this season, I think he's going to be pretty good. Another sleeper, Cole. Once, like we said, always a threat when it comes to playoff time. Can either go off or not go off and get 60 points. I mean, it just really matters on the type of week his players have. Then we got Paytos. He knows how to draft that 6th pick. He's pretty comfortable with it by now. It's been 6 years. So that's him. Then I would like to say Baxter is definitely next. He's got that ring with him. He's got 3 playoff appearances. It's time for him to get himself back into this league. He had a rough year this year, but I think he's ready to come back. And we got – I'd have to say Quap at the moment because Pettit's following of our league has kind of fell throughout as the years have gone. But I think Quap is ready to make the playoffs this year, get his first playoff appearance under his belt, and test the waters in that area. And then lastly, for now, we have Pettit. My man's just fell off as years have gone, like I said. And then wherever our 12th member is right now in the world, what's up? Can't wait to see who you're going to be. So, Pop,
Can't wait to beat your
go.
Okay. So at number 1, I'm gonna take a little detour from Austin. I'm gonna go with Hassett. Hassett was a force last year in our league, putting up multiple insane games with his team. His draft was, in my opinion, completely out of left field. I didn't expect him to draft as well as he did, but knowing the information I know now, with how he did and all that, I got to rank him 1. And looking at his record, I mean, starting off with Baxter and Klopp, I mean, I feel like that could be a 2-0 start for him. So
Yeah, then after week 3 he'll be 2-1.
I have him at number 1. Number 2, my number 2 and number 3 are gonna be interchangeable. Interchangeable. But for now, I'm gonna put 2 with Mazer. Mazer burst onto the scene, and the only reason he's not at 1 for me is that, yes, McCaffrey is an all-world talent. Yes, McCaffrey is most likely going to be his keeper. But can we expect another season like what he had? I understand he's going to still have a really good year, but also he avoided the injury bug like most running backs and all this stuff. And believe it or not, he did start to slow down slightly. I'm not saying he slowed down really at all, but you could see a little bit of wear and tear. Can we expect another full season out of him to do that? And also, who is he going to draft to complement that? Personally, I feel like with the regular season record you have, I feel like Hassett's draft was a little better than Mazer's, and that's what gives him the edge from that 1 to 2 spot. 3, I'm gonna have to put myself as Austin did. I mean, I'm not putting myself at 1 like some narcissistic person, but I'm there. I'm there every single year. I mean, I'm ready to make it back to the championship, ready to contend again. I feel like my drafts and free agency are always top notch. I'm not going to dive too much into what I think of my fantasy ability because what's the fun in that? I'm ranking other people, not myself. Number 4, I'm going to have to go with probably Austin. Once again, 4-5, interchangeable, Austin and Gabe for me. Austin, I feel like he's there. He has the experience. He's been, yes, he's maybe had some slightly off drafts, had some injuries, but he's always been there. He's always had that. He's always had that like great draft, and always had the ability to get up at 3 a.m. to get those waiver wire pickups, which that does add into a little bit of the ranking for me, how willing you are to get up. Personally, for me, I never can get up at 3 a.m. because I like my sleep too much. But
Soft.
but Austin really has the drive, and so does Gabe. That's why 4 and 5 for me are so close, because Gabe's my rival, and Gabe, no matter what, will always give everybody a good game. I'm not saying he's going to win every single game, but he will fight and claw and try to just beat everybody every single game. And his draft, and it's uncanny how similar me and him draft. Because I remember last year at Chickies and Pete's, we're going through the draft board, and I'm just looking at, and I say something. It's like, yeah, I was thinking of that same position, and it's just like, it's at like every single move I'm thinking, it's like the same thing. So that's why I have like him and Austin interchangeable. Really, my 4-5, it's a toss up, because I really, it's so hard to distinguish between you two, because you two are always so close in like proximity to like the upper echelon of the league. Number 6, I'm gonna have to go with Matic. Now Matic, yes, he has the talent evaluation. Yes, he gets up at 3 a.m. My friend, he has some questionable moves sometimes. Trades, free agency. Guy could have one bad game and he's gone off the roster, and he's exploding on another team for the rest of the year. And Maddox's like, damn, I shouldn't have cut him. But guess what? I felt like doing it, and I did it. So that's where Maddox has that little bit of gap. That's why he's more in the middle of the pack instead of the upper echelon. If Maddox would hold on to some of his guys longer than he actually does, instead of making a reaction move, Maddox could contend for a championship probably this year.
It's coming. Just wait.
After Maddox, I'm gonna have to go with Cole. Cole is the silent assassin, in my opinion. You'll never see him coming until he beats the crap out of your team. Cole, you will never see his team in the playoffs coming until you look at that score and you're down by 30, and you're just thinking, where did I go wrong? How am I losing to this team? He did not draft X, Y, and Z because he drafted A, B, C. I mean, it's like, it's crazy how no matter what he does, he ends up in the playoffs. It's an uncanny ability to just move and shift with what's going on in the season. All of a sudden, bang, he's in the playoffs again. After that, I'm going to have to go with Baxter. Baxter's always there. Yes, he may have a lull, but he's what we would call a streaky player. He'll go on a lull, and then he'll explode for a top 3 finish or a championship. And I feel like we had the lull, and now he's coming back with a vengeance. So he could be back. He's probably coming back stronger this year. I wouldn't underestimate him. And then I'm going to have to rank Quap. Quap we've only seen 1 year, so we don't really know what to expect with injury luck. Have we seen the full force of his free agency and trades? Have we seen his full draft ability? We don't know. We have to see. That's why I'm keeping him on the lower side of the rankings until we essentially experience what he's going to do as a drafter and player in a second year. Then after that, I got to go Pettit. I mean, Jack's always been one of my good friends, but he has fallen off. His interest has waned once his guys get hurt. He'll always be locked in weeks 1 through 4. Then a guy goes down, and you won't hear from him again for 3 weeks. And depending on our
Paytas?
I mentioned Paytas before, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean,
No,
do we really care? It's Paytas.
I mean, Paytas is ahead of Pettit because
Just make it share.
he's streaky.
you say, like, you kept going, just didn't mention Paytas.
Paytas always starts strong, but he always hits the lull. And once, like Austin said before, once that ball gets rolling, you can't stop it. And then depending on who that 12th member is, I mean, I'm not slotting them above 10 because
You can't.
I don't know enough about who we're gonna get to put them above established players in the league.
And
So I mean that's my ranking. So
before we hand it over to Gabe or Maddock, or we talk about that, Paytas, if you are listening to this, talk in the group chat. I miss your voice, buddy.
Yeah, we miss you. We also have a
please,
group
dude.
chat that only some of us seem to talk in, and Paytas speaks maybe once every 7 months. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he's talked in draft in the group chat since the draft.
Probably not.
Gabe, Maddock, who wants to go?
Gabe, you go. I'm working on our promotions at the moment.
All right. I guess honestly, first I'm gonna go different than both you guys. I'm gonna go Pac first. It's just he was just always dominant. It's always tough week when you play Pac. You see him on schedule, you're like, crap, all right. Basically lost if you're not one of the top 5 or 6 teams. Second, I'm gonna put myself second because as Pac said, it's just I'll go out there every week and just pretty much be a force and just try to destroy your team every way I can and any way and every way I can. Third, Hassett's team is always good. I guess I'd go Hassett, which I guess it makes sense. The top 3 winning percentages for 3. Hassett's team is just I don't know. I never like his team in the draft. Never do. And his team always surprises, and it's always tough to play him. He's also always a good matchup. If you're not one of the top 6 guys in the league, you're most likely going to lose to him. 4, I don't like this spot, but I have to give it to him since he was the champion last year. I'm gonna go with Mazer. Other than the playoffs, his team was not that good. 6 and 7, averaging, I don't know, 100 something points a week, low hundreds. It's kind of tough there to put him higher. 5, I'm gonna go Kane. He's always pretty good. Always gives a good fight. Not gonna go out and win every week, but he will go out and make it a close game. 6, Maddock. I always like a rivalry. It's always fun, so I have to put you there, and you can always beat us in teams if you have good weeks. 7, probably Baxter. Yeah, I'll give Baxter 7. His team, like Maddock, is always decent. He can give a good beating to some of the worst teams in the league, and will put up a fight against some of the better teams in the league, but won't win every game. 8, I'm gonna go with Cole because his team's sleeper team. Always tough to. If half his team is not on a bye, it's always tough to predict a week against him. He can always give a good fight, and especially him in the playoffs. Quiet assassin. What am I at 9? I'll give 9 to Paytas. His team first 3, 4, 5 weeks is just unbeatable, and then he loses 1 game, and he loses 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then finishes 6 and 7. 10. I'm gonna go with Pettit. He's kind of the same way. He can have a good season to start, and then we'll lose 1 guy due to injury and just completely forget about his whole team until that guy comes back from injury if they do. 11, I'll go with Quap. Haven't really seen too much of him other than the 1 week I played him last year, maybe. His team's okay. I don't know. I forget if he drafted every single Patriots player alive. he's not gonna win every week. He'll I don't know. Hope he finishes either 7-6 or 6-7 this year, and I'll rank him higher. But right now, I just don't see him being that high. And then last, I have the no name.
Well, of course.
Yeah, he's my 12.
Who will it be?
We shall find out. Maybe we'll probably announce it in a later video comes on.
Yeah, we've a couple names.
Good thing for me while they were talking about the power rankings. Of course, I was listening. I was able to the first YouTube videos up. As we're filming episode 2, start promoting it through our other outlets. Check out our Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram as well as if you're not on the YouTube page yet.
At
My
4CornerSports. At 4CornerSports. The number 4CornerSports, all one word. Check us out.
It's going to be everywhere, man. Just
okay, so
make
I'm
sure
going
to
to go
check it out.
very controversial here for my power rankings, as you would all expect out of me.
Yep, of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the number 1 spot to Gabe Arena. I'm picking Gabe because Gabe is 3 years in, has been a top competitive team all 3 years, not with a downside, and he's never made a mistake that I've seen. Grabbing Michael Thomas was a genius move. He's not made a bad trade. I have not seen a bad pickup, and while I've beaten him before, he's a solid player, and I'm going to take him at 1.
Cool.
At 2, Brandon Pockrass, our most consistent player, 6 years, 5 playoff appearances. I've seen Brandon's team get shaky once or twice. Brandon is honestly the one that gets hit by the injury bug more than any of us in the rest of the league. I've seen him lose players week 1 for the entire season multiple occasions. But Brandon always battles back and always comes in very solid. For my 3rd spot, I'm going to give it to Jack Hassett. He's been on a meteoric rise every season and just seems to get a little better and better, and I could really see Jack Hassett fighting his way back and winning the championship this year. For spot 4, we're going to go with Commissioner Kane. He's at 4. 1 bad season.
I see that shock face, Brandon.
I think I've seen Austin have I'm pretty sure Austin has the worst record and the best record in league history. Minus the on-in, but we don't count. We don't count that as an actual record.
Man, you're making some deep cuts with this stuff, man. No one's going to know what we were talking about.
Well, inside stuff. But no, so I'm going to go with Kane at 4. Always a solid player, even if he's not willing to let players play against the Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Luke Mazer over myself at 5, which is you guys know how painful it takes me to say that.
Yep.
But unfortunately, he's got Christian McCaffrey, and it's an unbeatable spot. I think he'll draft smart enough around that to get himself back into a playoff spot. Like the rest of us, I'm going to keep myself at 6. It is true. I'm a risk taker, and I'm also willing to bet the bank on one person. If he doesn't work that first week, I'll send him somewhere else. It is true. Brandon named that flaw. It's a problem. Working on it. But I've been 3 out of 5 playoff appearances, some bad years, but I was also the highest record in the league last year up until the final week of the season. I have some possibilities, but, if we can just not take as many risks, we might have a better shot. At 7, give me Quap.
Wow.
I think Quap.
What has he showed you to be at number 7?
It's been leaked
Okay.
for 1 year.
In 1 year, man.
Can you?
Cole.
I have an explanation for everything, as usual.
Oh, great.
Quap was sitting next to me at the draft. We talked football. I helped. We talked over some of his picks. He actually gave me one of my better picks of the season with Kenny Galladay. Or not Kenny Galladay, I traded for DJ Moore. He helped me with that pick. I think that Quap had a fantastic draft. I think the injury bug killed him. And he did not have the ability or the wherewithal to think to get up at 3 a.m. or start working on the waiver wire. I think in his second season, he's going to have another fantastic draft, and he's going to get the waiver wire, the free agent's acumen, and become a much better player. And I'm going to keep Quap at 7. At number 8, Cole Arsenal, the dark horse. We've said it multiple times. It doesn't matter how he drafts. His team will score 180 one week and then 60 the next. It's an automatic. That puts me at 9. John Paytas always drafts well. Had Antonio Brown forever, relied on him. Now that he, can't speak half the time. And ask YouTubers to fight him. We're just going to – he's done. Paytas had a solid season last year, but once again starts off well and then just drops off the hill. That should leave me at 10 with Baxter. Baxter's had some championship years, but he's very spotty his last couple years. He's 2 in a row on not making the playoffs. Definitely a possibility of bouncing back, but I want to see a little more out of him before moving him up in my rankings. Pettit. It's funny. I'm in other leagues with Pettit, and he's a fantastic player. For whatever reason it is, in this league, Jack Pettit cannot figure it out, whether it's not paying attention, drafting Marshawn in the 4th round. He has the first championship, but he's really not done anything since. He could always turn it around randomly, but at the moment he's sticking at 11 with me. And as usual, 12 is the new guy because we don't know what he's about to bring. And the person they, brought in to replace me went 0 and whatever. So, it's hard to find good players sometimes. That's the power rankings.
So that
Shots taken.
pretty much breaks it down for our schedule release. I'll scroll over once, give you guys one last look on that.
All right.
If you guys are in a league, the schedule is on the app now. You can go check it out.
Yeah. If you guys are listening to this, check the app. Your schedules are in.
Yep.
And now the last thing I think we want to do is we all wanted to announce our one player we think really going to break out and one player that we think is just going to absolutely downgrade.
Oh yeah.
Gabe, you had a very big one you want to start with, and I'd like to hear it again.
So yeah, well, I guess all 4 of us will do the biggest.
The breakout and then the downgrade.
Yeah, the biggest breakout player. We'll do that first. My breakout player is going to be Drew Lock. You've seen the last 2 seasons with Pat Mahomes breaking it out and then Lamar Jackson breaking out. I don't know how it is or why it is, but it's just both those guys played late in the season and then dominated their second season in the league, their first full season in the league. I fully expect Drew Lock to do the same, especially with weapons like Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, and Cortland Sutton, and Noah Fant. I fully expect him to break out and have one of the better fantasy seasons next season.
Marcus?
Well, looking at the league, bunch of breakouts. I'm gonna take a dark horse. I'm gonna go with J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. Previously out of Ohio State. So looking at the Ravens backfield, right? You would think it's crowded. There's so many guys. What could happen, right? So I know the Ravens still have Mark Ingram, right? But Mark Ingram.
Hang on. Their best running back is Lamar Jackson.
That's true.
Mark Ingram tends to get hurt. Gus Edwards is a power back. J.K. Dobbins.
I think Mark Ingram's a power back. He's physical. Big dude.
I know, but he gets hurt a lot. J.K. Dobbins, I feel like, could be that breakout where he takes the reins late in the season and carries you to that championship.
He definitely could.
Where he's
out of the backfield, gets that PPR points too.
Where the Ravens are already in the playoff hunt, they're trying to, or they have their spot locked up. They're trying to save Lamar Jackson. So it's like, and it's cold weather in Baltimore. So it's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna give the ball to J.K. Dobbins 20 times a game. So that's where I feel like the breakout candidate could happen.
Austin.
One guy I think it's, you'll see the sophomore slump, whatever. One guy I think that's going to defy that will be Kyler Murray. I think he will be one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy football this year. Adding D-Hop to his roster, he's got Larry Fitz, Christian Kirk out there as weapons. He can run. He's got the option. I just think he's going to come out, have a much better fantasy season. I know he was he rookie of the year or whatever. But I think he's going to have a really good fantasy season this year. Matt, I'll pass it down to you.
Okay, so here's mine. Just moving to Miami, I'm taking Matt Breida.
Ooh, interesting.
Him and Jordan Howard are being told to be the running backs for Miami, and watching Jordan Howard play this season in the Eagles, he's got a max shoulder, and I do not think Jordan Howard will be able to stay healthy for 16 games. leaving Matt Breida, in my opinion, a proven running back who is good at what he does, to lead the Dolphins with the running game, and I think he could be a fantastic late-round pick.
Interesting.
I'll tell you what. Another sleeper I have, Miles Sanders.
I was gonna bring him up. I was thinking him or Dobbins.
Yeah, he could definitely have a breakout year, especially with a healthy wide receiver core, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run the ball. He's fast. He's swift. He can be a power back. He can do it all.
Well, apparently Jalen Hurts is now playing running back as well. But
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Forgot about him.
All right.
We're not even going to speak about that because that would take us 7 hours to talk about.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a whole different show itself.
Is that everyone's breakout?
Yep.
Yeah,
Downgrade time.
yeah.
Downgrade time. Ooh. Now, when we say downgrade, are we saying not from the level that they had the previous year, or like to a level where
a terrible fantasy year?
Terrible fantasy year? Okay.
Basically like what Le'Veon did when he went to the Jets.
That's cold. That's cold, man.
Am I wrong?
I'm not saying you're wrong. It's still cold.
Just fantasy wise, like
Yes.
he needed an offensive line, and they got that in the draft. So
Yeah. Okay, Matic, you want to start with that?
yeah, let's go backwards.
God, you kill me here. I was going to do a little research before and downgrade. Give me DJ Moore. One of my favorite players that I've had over the last couple of years. Actually, no, I'm going to switch this. Sorry, I got thought of a better one. Downgrade is going to be Chris Godwin.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think Chris Godwin's gone from an unnoticed speedster to a person now teams have to watch out for. And while the Buccaneers have more weapons they know what to do with, I don't think Brady's going to love him. Because Brady's two biggest targets of all time would be Gronk and Edelman. Gronk's on the field, and he doesn't do a lot of work out of the slot, and they've also got Mike Evans that they're up to. So I think he's going to have a downgraded season, and he's not going to put up what he did.
Interesting.
Kane.
I got two guys. The first one is Terry McLaurin. It really depends on Dwayne Haskins' arm. Is he going to hit him on the deep shots? Is Haskins going to improve as a player, as a quarterback, as a leader in the Redskins locker room? And the second one, Brandon will not enjoy. Alvin Kamara.
Ooh.
I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player this year, a bad pick. I'm just saying he's not going to be my first overall or first round pick like the years past. Latavius Murray's there. He's 30. I mean, he is getting to the end of the road as a running back, but I pulled it up on my phone. I mean, he was 30th running back in attempts, 146. I mean, that's more than like 32nd starter, 31st starter. I mean, there's 32 teams, and one team has doubled or two running backs in those numbers. 637 in yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, I'm staying away from Kamara in the first
He was
round.
also hurt the whole year, as he came out and said. So
Yeah. So, I mean, personally for me, that's just my two players who I think are just going to downgrade a little bit. But that's it.
Gabe, how about you?
Nah, Pac, you go first, man.
You're up. It goes in reverse order, Brandon.
You want me to go first? Oh boy.
We
Downgrade. Downgrade. You see, I was leaning McCaffrey, but I don't think he's gonna have an off year. Just not to the point where it was last year. Downgrade. That's an interesting one. Deshaun Watson. I mean, I feel like that's kind of give me, right? I mean, yes, he has Brandon Cooks. Yes, he has Will Fuller, but as we've seen in years past, those guys are like made of glass. They don't stay on the field. And you trade away DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals for essentially nothing.
That's a whole nother video.
You don't have it. You had deep threats, but you don't have that size that Hopkins had, the route running that Hopkins
The
had.
catching ability that Hopkins has.
Exactly. And you don't have really much of a run game. You don't really have an O-line still. You're essentially telling Deshaun Watson, go pull LeBron James and win it yourself. So that's my downgrade candidate for the year.
All right, I guess I'll go. I have a couple. I have three. One was Deshaun Watson, basically for the reason that you said. Another one, so two more. Jared Goff. I mean, you lose Todd Gurley, you lose Brandon Cooks. You don't have the same weapons you did previous years.
Can he go down anymore, though? He
His
wasn't good
production
last
has
year.
not. I mean, like, yeah, it's true. I mean, his production has not gotten any better.
Always
Honestly,
get
it can
worse.
get worse. I guess another one, as much as it kills me to say this, Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
You get a fully healthy wide receiver core. You added 3 receivers this year. You get back a healthy Alshon after 6 weeks if he starts on the PUP list. You get back a healthy Deshaun Jackson. You have Miles Sanders out of the backfield. You got Dallas Goedert to throw the ball to now too. Just don't think he has the same production as in years past. He'll still be good. It's just
Not that like all-time level of the
Yeah.
tight end. Understandable.
Mhm.
So, I mean, guys, do we have anything else to touch on for our first fantasy podcast?
I got
I
one
think-
more thing that we don't have to go through because we're getting kind of late on time, but the comeback player of the year for fantasy football and the NFL will be Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh,
That's
that's a
high.
hot take. Hot take. All right. So, on that note, thank you once again for joining us essentially for our second episode. I appreciate all the support that I know we're gonna have, and honestly, having a blast doing this. Looking forward to doing a lot more of these. So, for myself, Austin, Matt, and Gabe, this has been the Four Corner Sports Fantasy Podcast.
It's out, baby.
Yes, sir.
Have a
That's
follow
night.
us on everything.
Peace.